A custody fight blew up in the middle of my cousin's wedding, turning sibling rivalry into a full-blown family disaster. So this all went down last summer, and honestly, I still can't wrap my head around it. My cousin John, 26M, was getting married to his longtime girlfriend, Marissa. The wedding was at this nice country club just outside of town, white gazebo, string lights, the whole Pinterest perfect vibe. Everyone expected some drama because, well, it's our family, but nobody thought it would explode the way it did. Tension really started brewing before the ceremony even began. John's older sister, Emily, 29F, had just filed for custody of her 4-year-old daughter, Lily. The whole thing was messy because Lily's dad, Emily's ex, was also at the wedding since he's still close with John. Yeah, you read that right. My family tree looks more like a tangled bush. Anyway, everyone knew there was a custody hearing scheduled for the following week, but Emily couldn't let it go for one single day. She showed up to the wedding already looking tense, hair perfect but eyes bloodshot like she hadn't slept. Meanwhile, John was trying to keep the focus on his wedding day, but it was clear Emily wasn't about to play along. I was standing near the entrance when I overheard Emily snapping at John. "Don't you dare let him anywhere near Lily today," she hissed, glancing over at her ex, who was talking casually with some of the groomsmen. John sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Emily, please, can you just not make this about you? It's my wedding day." "This is about me," she shot back. "It's about my daughter. You don't get it, you're always on his side." That right, they set the tone. I knew John and Emily had a history of rivalry, typical older sister/younger brother stuff that just never mellowed out. But now it was spilling over into something bigger, something legal and messy. Fast forward to the ceremony itself. The bride looked gorgeous. John was trying his best to smile through the stress, and for a brief moment it felt normal. Until Lily, being 4 years old and curious, wandered away from Emily and went straight to her dad during the vows. The second Emily saw Lily in her ex's arms, she completely lost it. She stood up in the middle of the ceremony and yelled across the aisle, "Put her down, you have no right to touch her." Asks. Awkward silence. The officiant literally froze mid-sentence. John's face turned beet red as he muttered, "Are you serious right now?" Emily stormed toward the front, heels clacking like gunshots on the floor, snatching Lily's arm. The ex stood up just as he did, and suddenly everyone was whispering, phones halfway out like they were about to start recording. Marissa, the bride, whispered, "John, do something," but he just stood there, torn between protecting his sister and defending his new wife's big day. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just sibling bickering anymore, this was a full-blown custody battle blowing up in the middle of a wedding ceremony. The ceremony basically collapsed after that outburst. The officiant tried to keep things moving, but let's be real, once someone's screaming about custody in the middle of I Jews, there's no salvaging the vibe. People were shifting uncomfortably in their seats. The bride's mom looked like she was about to faint, and poor John, just looked torn to pieces. Security from the venue came over quietly to ask if they needed to escort anyone out, but John begged them to just let it go, it's family. Yeah, that didn't work. After Emily dragged Lily back to her seat, the vows continued, but it was awkward as hell. You could practically hear people whispering, "Did you see that? Isn't the custody hearing next week?" By the time John and Marissa finally kissed, the whole moment was overshadowed by the drama. Then came the reception. And honestly, if the ceremony was bad, the reception was straight up catastrophic. I was at the bar grabbing a drink when Emily's ex cornered John near the dance floor. I could only hear bits, but it was enough. "You're enabling her," the ex snapped, pointing toward Emily. "She's unstable, and you know it, if you don't testify." John cut him off. "Don't drag me into your mess, today is not about you two." The ex sneered. "It is about me, she's using your wedding as a stunt, and you're letting her." Right about then, Emily came storming over like she'd been waiting for her cue. "You have no right to even be here," she shouted at her ex. He barfed back, "I was invited by your brother, maybe because he knows you can't be trusted." Everyone around us went silent. The DJ literally stopped the music mid-song because the tension was so thick. I tried to step in, like, "Hey, maybe cool it for tonight," but Emily was already shoving her ex's shoulder. He staggered back, knocking over a table of champagne flutes. Glass shattered everywhere. John finally lost it. "Both of you stop. You're ruining my wedding," he yelled, voice cracking. The room froze. Marissa was standing nearby with tears in her eyes, and I swear I saw her bridesmaids exchange worried looks like they were wondering if she'd regret this marriage already. Then Emily turned her anger on John. "Oh, of course, take his side. Like always, you've never once supported me. Even when Mom and Dad favoured you over me, I was the one stuck picking up the pieces. Now you'd rather side with my abuser than your own sister." The room collectively gasped. John looked like he'd been punched in the gut. "Emily, this isn't about sides, it's about you making everything about you," he said through clenched teeth. Meanwhile, little Lily was crying in her chair, not understanding why her mom and dad were screaming. My Aunt John and Emily's mom rushed over to comfort her, but that just added fuel. Emily snapped, "Don't touch my daughter." At this point, the wedding planner was pale as a ghost, whispering frantically to the staff about whether they should call the police. And that's when the real family rift came out in the open, Emily accusing John of betrayal, John calling Emily manipulative, and the whole custody case being thrown into the spotlight in front of every single guest. I thought it couldn't get worse after the champagne table got knocked over. I was dead wrong. The wedding reception turned into a courtroom with no judge. After Emily screamed at them on to not touch Lily, John finally snapped. He walked up, face flush, jaw clenched, and said in a low voice that carried across the room, You're weaponizing Lily just to punish him, and now you're dragging all of us down with you. Emily's face twisted. Weaponizing? Are you serious? I'm the only one protecting her. Everyone else is too busy kissing his asterisk. At that moment, Uncle Rick, John and Emily's dad decided to jump in. Huge mistake. He stood, slammed his beard down, and said, Emily, enough, you've been dramatic since high school. Stop embarrassing us. The gasp that came out of Emily's mouth, oh man, I'll never forget it. Embarrassing you? You mean like when I told you hit me and you told me to shut up for the family's reputation? She shouted, pointing at her ex. That froze the whole room. The air felt like it got sucked out. Marissa's family looked horrified, and Marissa herself had tears streaming down her face, not for Emily, but because her dream wedding had completely gone up in flames. John looked blindsided. Wait, what? You never told me that. Emily's voice cracked. Because you never listened. You were always too busy being the golden boy. The mom tried to intervene, voice trembling. Emily, sweetheart, not here. Shut up, Mom. Emily snapped, and people gasped again. You never cared about me unless I was making you look good, but John screws around, gets bailed out, and now you all worship him. That's when John exploded. You want to talk about screwing around? You hadn't. With Dad's business partner and almost cost them the company. Don't act like you're the saint here. Dead silence. My jaw literally dropped. You could hear folks think as people put them down mid-bite. Emily went pale, then red. You swore you'd never bring that up. And you swore you'd never drag Lily into your mess. John shot back. The ex, who had been standing there with his arms crossed, smirked and muttered, well, at least now the judge will know the truth about you, Emily. That was the final straw. Emily lunged at him, screaming, I'll you before I let you take her. The two groomsmen grabbed her, pulling her back, while Lily cried louder, hands over her ears. The venue manager finally stormed in with security. This stops now, one more outburst and the police are being called. The bride's father turned to Marissa and whispered loud enough for half the room to hear, This is what you married into. You sure about this, honey? And poor Marissa, still in her lace gown, just broke down sobbing. Meanwhile, John stood in the middle of the chaos, tie loosened, fist trembling. I could see it on his face. Years of rivalry, favoritism, and buried resentment had just exploded all at once. And in that moment I realised this wasn't just about a custody battle. This was about decades of siblings competing for scraps of love and recognition, and it finally tore the family apart in front of everyone. By the time security finally got Emily calmed down, the reception was in total chaos. Guests were whispering, some filming on their phones, and Lily was bawling in her aunt's arms. Marissa was crouched by the DJ booth, tears streaming, muttering, I can't believe this is happening, my wedding. John looked like he was ready to collapse. His tie was hanging loose, his jacket half off, and I could see the tension lines on his face deepening. He grabbed a water glass, took a shaky sip, and muttered, I just can't do this today. Then Uncle Rick intervened again, this time more aggressively. John, you need to step up and control this. Enough of letting Emily manipulate you. John shot him a look that was equal parts anger and desperation. I'm trying, but she's unhinged right now, and I'm not about to escalate it further. Maybe if you all just calm down and... Emily, of course, wasn't listening. She broke free from the groomsmen, holding her, and started pacing toward the front, dragging Lily along. No, he's never going to understand. I won't let him. Lily's mine, and I will fight anyone who tries to take her. At that point, the venue manager had had enough. Sir, ma'am, this is the last warning. Either you leave voluntarily or I'm calling the police. That got everyone's attention. Emily froze for a second, her eyes wild. John finally stepped forward, putting his hands gently but firmly on her shoulders. Emily, please, this isn't the place, not today. You're scaring everyone, especially Lily. Please, let's go outside and talk. She flinched, as if his words hurt more than the chaos around her. Then she muttered, Fine, but don't think this changes anything, John. I'll see you in court, and I will win. The ex smirked smugly, muttering under his breath, Told you. The police ended up being called anyway because Emily didn't calm down fast enough. 2 officers arrived, talking to everyone separately. Luckily, no one got arrested, but the tension in the room was suffocating. Marissa was hiding her face in her hands, whispering repeatedly, I just wanted a normal wedding. Meanwhile, the family started splitting into sides. Uncle Rick and Mom quietly took John's side, but a few aunts and cousins were subtly giving Emily sympathy looks. It was a minefield of judgment, and you could feel everyone trying not to say the wrong thing. John, still pale and trembling, walked over to Marissa. Hide, I'm so sorry. I never imagined this would happen. She shook her head, tears streaming. I know it's not your fault, but this is a disaster. I stayed near the edge of the chaos, trying to help wrangle guests who didn't know where to go, but it was clear everything had changed. This wedding had gone from celebration to full-blown family war. And through all of it, Lily clung to her aunt, clearly traumatized, as if she already knew that this custody battle wasn't going away anytime soon. By the end of the night, most of the guests had left early, whispering rumours, and Marissa and John were left to pick up the pieces. It wasn't just a wedding ruined, it was a family's hidden resentment laid bare for everyone to see. The next morning, the house was eerily quiet. John and Marissa stayed at the venue overnight to avoid facing any more judgmental relatives. I dropped by around noon, just to check on them, and the tension was palpable. John looked like he hadn't slept at all. Marissa had refused breakfast, sitting silently by the window, staring at the garden that had been decorated for their wedding. John ran a hand through his hair, exhausted. I don't even know where to start fixing this mess, he muttered. Emily, she's relentless, and now the whole family knows about every little thing we've tried to keep private. I nodded slowly, not sure what advice to give. You're not the villain here, John. You try to stay neutral, but family rivalries don't care about neutral. He let out a shaky laugh. Neutral doesn't get you anywhere in this family. Apparently, taking care of my own marriage today makes me the enemy to my sister. I love her, but... He trailed off, eyes distant. Marissa finally spoke, her voice quiet but firm. John, you need to set boundaries, for Lily, for Emily, for yourself. This wedding can't define the rest of your life. John sighed. I know, but Emily hates that I exist sometimes. She's always seen me as the golden boy, and now she thinks siding with me is betrayal. Later that afternoon, Emily showed up at John's apartment unannounced. I was there when she knocked, and John reluctantly let her in. There was a heavy silence before she finally spoke. I know what I did yesterday was extreme, she admitted, voice shaky. But you don't understand. I feel like I've been invisible my whole life. Everyone always favoured you, Mom, Dad, everyone, and now with Lily, I just can't lose her. John looked down, silent for a moment, then finally said, Emily, I get it, I really do, but you're screaming in front of the wedding, threatening people, it didn't protect Lily, it scared her. You need to figure out how to fight for her without destroying everyone else in the process. She started to cry softly, sitting on the edge of the couch. I know, I don't know how to be a normal sister. I hate that, I ruined your day, John. He moved closer and put a hand on her shoulder. You didn't ruin my marriage. The wedding is one day. What matters is that you and Lily figure out how to handle this custody thing responsibly. I'll support you where I can, but you have to try. Emily, you can't let your anger rule everything. She nodded, wiping her tears. Okay, I'll try. I don't want to fight with you anymore, but I can't promise I'll be calm the next time I feel threatened. John sighed, giving her a small, tired smile. Then I'll just have to be ready for it. We're family. We figure it out, one mess at a time. It wasn't perfect. Far from it. But for the first time in days, there was a sliver of understanding between them. Sibling rivalry still simmered, but the chaos had slowed enough that they could at least breathe and plan the next steps together. A few days later, the family slowly started to regroup. The relatives who had left Ellie trickled back for a casual post-wedding brunch at Marissa's parents' house. The tension was still there, but everyone was making a conscious effort not to spark another argument. John and Marissa arrived first. Marissa, still in a slightly rumpled dress from the wedding chaos, looked determined to salvage some normalcy. We can't let yesterday define the family, she said softly, gripping John's hand. John nodded, though his jaw was tight. I know. But Emily, she's not going to magic the calm down. We need a plan for Lily and the custody stuff without losing our heads. By the time Emily and her ex arrived, the air was thick. Emily tried to appear calm, but the tension in her shoulders gave her away. Her ex, surprisingly, seemed almost conciliatory, probably sensing that the whole wedding fiasco had put the family on edge. Uncle Rick cleared his throat. Let's all just sit down and have a normal brunch. No shouting, no accusations, just family. There was a pause, then a few awkward nods, and everyone started taking seats. The conversation started cautiously small talk about the food, comments on how beautiful the decorations had been despite the chaos. It was fragile, but it was a start. I noticed John leaning toward Emily and whispering, Listen, we need to present a united front at the hearing. I'll support you, but only if we stay calm. They agreed. Emily looked hesitant, then nodded. Agreed, but I'm scared I'll lose her anyway. John put a hand on hers. Then we fight smart, not loud. We keep Lily safe without scaring her or everyone else. Marissa, who had been quietly observing, added, You two can do this without destroying each other. I believe in that. The rest of the brunch passed slowly but without incident. Conversations were polite, even if a little stiff. Aunt Karen made a joke about the cake disaster, and a few cousins laughed nervously. It was like everyone collectively agreed the wedding was behind them, and now they had to focus on what mattered to family, Lily, and figuring out custody in the civil way. Later, John and Marissa walked me to the car. It's going to be messy in court, John admitted. But at least we're not fighting in front of the whole family anymore. Yeah, I said. Yesterday was chaos, but today is a start. You and Emily can rebuild some trust, slowly. John nodded. Exactly, one step at a time. I can't fix the past, but I can at least try to protect the future. Marissa smiled, a little relieved. And I'm sticking around to make sure the wedding doesn't become a nightmare memory. That day, the family didn't resolve everything. The custody battle loomed large, sibling rivalry simmered beneath the surface, and tensions were far from gone. But for the first time in a long while, there was a sense of cautious optimism. They had survived the wedding disaster and were taking the first steps toward real communication, even if it was tentative and fragile. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. A few weeks later, the dust had settled enough for some semblance of normalcy. John and Marissa had officially moved past the initial wedding trauma, though the memories of the chaos still made them flinch. Emily, surprisingly, had made small but sincere efforts to repair her relationship with John, recognizing that the sibling rivalry had almost destroyed not just the wedding, but their bond entirely. The family gathered for a smaller, quieter dinner at John's apartment. This time, it was just close relatives, Mom, Uncle Rick, Aunt Karen, Emily her ex, John, Marissa, and me. Lee was there too, now calm and happy, playing quietly with toys in the corner. John and Emily sat across from each other, and for the first time in months, the conversation wasn't loaded with tension. Emily spoke first, her voice soft. John, I'm sorry for everything at the wedding. I know it was chaotic, and I scared everyone, especially Lily. John nodded. I know you were scared, I get it, but shouting and dragging her into it's not safe for anyone. Emily looked down at her hands, then met his gaze. I want to do better, for Lily, and for us. I don't want to keep being enemies. John gave her a small, genuine smile. Me neither, we're family, we figure it out, even if it's messy. Marissa, sitting beside him, reached out and squeezed his hand. See, even in chaos, you two can find a way. Emily's ex surprisingly chimed in. I'll cooperate too, no more theatrics in public, Lily deserves that. There was a long pause, then Uncle Rick broke the silence with a chuckle. Well, at least we've got the drama under control, for now. Everyone laughed nervously, but it was a real laugh, not the forced kind from the wedding. As the night went on, the conversations became warmer, lighter. Memories of the wedding's chaos were acknowledged but not dwelled upon. Lily laughed at a story John told about the cake disaster, and Emily joined in, smiling genuine. Later, as the adults were cleaning up, John pulled me aside. I feel like maybe we actually made progress. Emily's still complicated, but at least she's not tearing the family apart openly anymore. I nodded. Yeah, the custody stuff isn't over, but the sibling rivalry is finally being handled like adults instead of an explosive war. John exhaled, relief written all over his face. I hope Marissa knows she didn't marry into just chaos, but maybe chaos that's learning to calm down. Marissa laughed softly behind him, hugging him from the side. I think I can handle it. I married you after all. By the end of the evening, there was an unspoken understanding among everyone. They couldn't erase the wedding disaster, but they could rebuild from it. Family would always have its conflicts, sibling rivalry would always simmer beneath the surface, and custody battles were far from over, but for the first time, there was hope that they could navigate the mess without destroying each other. Sometimes, the worst moments reveal the strongest bonds. And in this family, even chaos couldn't completely sever the tie that mattered most.